I mean, it's Cooper Rush worth 2.5 points? I would hope Quinn Ewers put up a decent stat line against Arizona State. If he didn't, we have a real problem.
You can say the same thing about Creighton. Okay, they had the one good game against Kansas at home.
When Toast talks about the kicking market, it's like some earth is flat shit. Andy, true or false, this is going to be a dog walking.
Dog walking. This is my dog walking of the day. I think it's going to be very ugly. Dog walking. I think this is going to be ugly.
Hey, get the sauce. Hey. Hope you're all having a lovely Thursday night. I'm 2-0 so far. I did throw a live bet down on Cleveland that lost. But as far as the bets I posted on the website and the bets I placed beforehand, 2-0. Sweating 2 more bets here. Would love a 4-0 night. But the Kings are just playing around. Playing with this shit right now, the Kings. I got Oregon State, too, which is still on as well.
What is your obsession with the Sacramento Kings?
They're just a good ball club.
All right.
And they're 7-1 against the spread. That's a 3. They're 7-1 against the spread in their last 8. Sorry for winning. All right.
I didn't. I know that.
Yeah, you were saying Toast, like, his picks on the show did well, but his personal bets did not tonight.
I mean, yeah. When you get hooked 4 or 5 times, it's just, what are you going to do?
Yeah, what are you going to do? First game up, Providence, Villanova. It's not a loaded night for college basketball, but that being said, there's only like 9 games, but like 6 of them are cool. So like there's actually
they're not terrible, yeah.
They're not
That's
terrible
for sure.
games. Yeah, that's right. Juice Gophers outright. Juice was on Gophers with you. You were the only 2 in the world on the Gophers.
Mm-hmm. That was amazing.
We got Providence, Villanova. What the hell is Villanova?
I got a lot of shit from that. Like a couple DMs, like people telling me that I didn't know or to trust Michigan. And I'm like, dude, they're volatile. Like they're either going to look really, really good or they're going to look really, really bad. Like it's the yuck like I was talking out of my ass.
Hit that. Let's go, Kings. 9-point game. I want this 4-0 sweep bad. I want it bad. It's Wags. It's the same link every day. It's the same exact. It's going to be that same table every single day.
Beavers with a halftime lead. We'll take it. We will take it.
Yeah, if I get Kings and Oregon State, that gives me a sweep on the night. So Providence, Villanova. Tinker has already posted a pick on the screen. Under 141.5. Oh, Tinker had Minnesota with you as well.
Hell yeah.
So what is Villanova doing, laying 8.5 points?
I don't know. Providence isn't that good. I think I don't know. I guess Providence. It's just really hard because you want to talk about, like, my brain wants us to talk about, like, if Bryce Hopkins is going to be back, but you can't even like worry about him because he hasn't played in, like, essentially all year. Like, I think he's pretty much done. I think that the fact that we got to see him for 3 games was about as much as we're going to see him. But regardless, this Providence team is just, I mean, they look good against bad teams. They look really bad against good teams. I mean, there are 2 wins they have a couple wins against DePaul and Butler and Seton Hall. All those teams are bad, but when they face decent competition, even like Rhode Island or Davidson or St. Bonaventure or St. John's, I mean, they're losing those games as well. Some of them on neutral, some of those even in the dunk. And when you're losing when Providence is losing games at the dunk, it's kind of, it's just really hard to trust this team. But I don't mind the under. Both teams play really, really slow. Obviously, Villanova, one of the slowest teams in the country. Providence is pretty damn slow themselves. But I don't really have a lean on this one. I mean, I would guess take the points because I assume this game is going to go under. But Villanova has been playing much better basketball, especially over the last month. I do think that Xavier loss was a little bit eye-opening. I mean, not that they were like some heavy favorites or anything. I think they were like 3-point favorites, but Xavier's not a great basketball team. So maybe that St. John's ass whooping kind of carried over with them, and them being back home is a little bit better. But I'm not in a position to be laying multiple possessions with this Villanova team against a Providence team that is going to play slow with them. I think matches up somewhat decently against them. I mean, yeah, it would be Providence or pass for me. I just don't want to lay a whole bunch of points with Villanova.
Providence must be really bad.
They are, dude, and I love watching Providence basketball. And I thought, it's just when Bryce Hopkins was their best player, their heart and soul, and so just taking him out of that lineup, I think it's just kind of like an identity crisis, unfortunately. So it sucks. It really does suck. But you're right, they are pretty damn bad. They turn the ball over a lot. They don't force a lot of turnovers. They can rebound the hell out of it, but there's a lot of bad. There's a lot of bad.
Kings just turn it over. Almost. All right, so Tinker's on the under. Wag says undecided for this one. Anyone? The Juice says lay at Knicks University. I like the Knicks too. Juice, I actually think I like the Knicks team total over in that one. It's tough with Towns being questionable.
Did he say Knicks University? He's talking about Villanova.
Oh. Why?
Because all the guys on the Knicks play for Villanova.
Oh, right. Well, no, not anymore. DiVincenzo's gone.
Well,
are you kidding me, Kings?
I want to just watch Kyle watch the Kings game. I love it. Oh, what do you got queued up next? This game, I mean, yeah.
Indiana, Ohio State next.
I don't know if Ohio State I just don't know if Ohio State's good or not. And the reason that I say that is I tend to give teams a little bit of a pass when you play such a good schedule. And Ohio State fits that mold. I mean, they're top 15 as far as strength of schedule is concerned. Their last loss, I mean, they looked really, really good against Wisconsin. They ended up losing that game, but they were down. Obviously, you guys know I was on that game as well. They were down big at halftime. They came back and fought back. They ended up losing that game, obviously. But and then again against a team like Oregon, Oregon's a pretty damn good basketball team. I mean, Oregon has lost to UCLA when UCLA was hot, and then they lost to Illinois, which I mean, obviously Illinois is one of the best teams in the country. So losing to Oregon, that doesn't really put much into it. You go back to Ohio State's other loss at home, Michigan State, one of the best teams in the country as well. They lost to Auburn. They lost to Pittsburgh early. They lost to Maryland. They lost to Texas A&M. So when they've played teams that they're supposed to beat, a la Minnesota, Kentucky, Rutgers, teams like that, Texas, they win those games. Obviously, the Texas game was really, really far early in the year, but I do think they should match up well against this Indiana team that I don't really trust Indiana outside of Bloomington, to say the least. And the last two games away from home or in Bloomington, they haven't really looked good against Iowa and Illinois. Again, Illinois, most teams are going to lose to. That's fine, but they got absolutely dismantled at home. They looked absolutely terrible. I think they got a little bit lucky to beat USC, to be dead honest with you guys. I think that USC is playing some really good basketball right now, and they just kind of faltered late. But beating teams, as talking about Indiana, beating teams like Chattanooga and Winthrop and Rutgers and Minnesota and Miami, Ohio, just doesn't really do much for me. So I would tend to lean Ohio State here. I think that the only thing that bothered me is they don't really rebound the ball that well. And with Indiana's size, if they're having just a little bit of an off night, that might spell disaster for Ohio State. But if they're shooting like they should shoot, and they've shot all year, they're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. They're one of the best offenses in the country. If they're having an on night, they should win this game by 10 plus. I think Indiana is one of the most overrated teams in the country.
Tinker wrote Ohio State minus 7.5 in there. If Tinker's
that's how you know.
That's a big shot, DeRozan. That is a big shot.
You guys don't know Tinker. He is the ultimate Indiana homer. So the fact that he was able to put that around his name, that's how much time is left? Is it in the fourth quarter?
That's a bucket. 2 minutes and
In
one.
the fourth?
Count the basket. DeRozan's just putting the team on his back. That was actually Monk, but the steal created the whole play on the other side.
And what do you have the Kings at?
4.5.
Minus or plus?
Minus.
Okay. I don't even know the score. So
They're up 4, and they're shooting a free throw to go up 5.
All right.
Make it 5. Can we play some fucking defense?
Anybody else in here on this game?
What game are we talking about? Indiana, Ohio State. We're polling heavy Indiana, and Wags is on Indiana.
Interesting.
And the Rockets hit a fucking 3.
Happy to help, Blaze, baby. Happy to help, brother.
Why is everyone taking Indiana plus 7.5 if they're so bad?
maybe they don't think they're as bad as I do, but I feel like Indiana, like I feel like Nebraska. You guys, I feel like it's a little bit of name recognition. They've played a somewhat decent schedule, but and you look at their losses and they're like, yeah, they lost to Louisville and Gonzaga and Nebraska and Iowa and Illinois and yada yada yada. It's not so bad, but they haven't beat anybody that's good. Like they don't have one good win on their resume. I guess more the better that USC plays and Penn State, maybe it'll look better, but they haven't beat anybody that's good. Like I just don't get the infatuation with it. Like I really don't. And with Malik Reneau going down, I know that they had like a little bit of a spurt there where they played well, but I think that's going to just be a detrimental to their team more than anything. So yeah, I'm kind of way out on Indiana right now.
Rodfather, bet on Indiana on the money line when playing against a marginal winning team. Win percentage 51% to 60% after 15 or more games into the season. Indiana's record since 2023 is 7-0 in such instances. Let's move on to the next one. DePaul, Georgetown. You're really going to be tested here. I know you love your guys. You love that Hoyas team, but
it's not. I mean, I do love them, but it's just that like I got a lot of crap for telling everybody that I think this team is a lot better than they think they were, and so for them to be 3-3 in the conference and their losses Marquette, UConn, and St. John's, 2 of those 3 on the road, I feel pretty confident in my assumptions that Georgetown was going to be a decent basketball team.
Well, we got 2 people that posted picks. Tinker and Wags both posted Georgetown -8.5.
Yeah, that's the only way that I can look here. First of all, I think fading DePaul is always going to be a positive, and I really think it's probably going to be really hard for this team. I mean, they've lost 2 of their last 3 games in OT, so they're 0-7 in the conference. So maybe you get an all-out effort for them, but I think this is like a kind of a letdown spot. I mean, after taking Marquette to the brink at home, getting it to overtime, and then losing that game in overtime by 2, and now you got to go travel into Georgetown and play this Georgetown team that has lost 3 in a row, but like I said, they've been to Marquette, UConn, and St. John's. Marquette and St. John's on the road. That UConn game was at home, and they kind of got blitzed in the first half a little bit. Or I'm sorry, blitzed in the first part of that second half, and then couldn't really recover. But then at the second part of that game, they started making a comeback. So they just had a really bad 10 minutes of that game. I don't think that UConn played fantastic. But again, they lost that game. But now they're back home against this DePaul team that's absolutely terrible. Georgetown is so much bigger. They're going to have such a big rebounding advantage as well. And the other thing is that they should be able to pound them inside. Georgetown's defense is really, really good inside as well. So DePaul really, as we know, lives and dies by the 3 ball. I don't really trust this DePaul team to come and face this Georgetown team and hit a whole bunch of 3s on this defense. Nobody's been really doing that against Georgetown. I have a hard time believing DePaul does it on the road here today. I'm not in love with laying such a big number with Georgetown. I'm usually getting like money lines at -110 to 120 or whatnot. So this is like a pretty big step up, but I do think that this line is high for a reason. I do think that if DePaul starts missing some shots and Georgetown's getting a whole bunch of easy putbacks, this game could get ugly pretty fast.
Yo, De'Aaron Fox. No one better ever try to tell me he's good at basketball again.
And if you bet DePaul, I'm not telling you not to. If you do, I would sprinkle the money line, because if you're bet DePaul, the reason that you're going to be in that game is because they're hitting their 3-point shots. And if they're hitting their 3-point shots, they're going to have a chance to win the game. So very similar to Rutgers, Nebraska today. I mean, if Rutgers was playing the way that they do, they have a chance to win the game. There it was. I don't even
take Georgetown. Everyone's taking Georgetown. You don't think this is a little crazy? 9 points?
I didn't bet it myself. I'm just saying that it's really hard to get to DePaul. I mean, unless you have an angle that you know that they're going to be fired up and ready to go. But I think that it's really deflating losing that game to Marquette and then having to travel and play a Georgetown team that's lost 3 in a row is kind of desperate. And at 500 in league play, I think you get a pretty focused effort out of the Hoyas tomorrow.
I'm putting DePaul up. No one wants to take DePaul. I mean, come on. I'm on board with Georgetown's not that bad, But now we're going, Georgetown, we're just going to lay double digits with them?
I agree. That's why I said I didn't bet it. I 100% agree with you. It's a bit of a stretch. I will agree with you.
Let's go.
To a point.
I'll be the only one. DePaul Island.
Ken Palm made this game 8 as well, so it's not like crazy difference. But yeah.
Iowa, UCLA.
I don't understand this. Let me double check. Let me see where we're at here. So you can still.
UCLA is good.
I'm sorry.
You don't understand the line you're saying?
No. Well, it's not only that. It's at 6.5, and it looks like the chances of it going to 7 are pretty high. We'll see, but I mean, I'm seeing a lot of. Pull up your little odds thing on your computer and see. You might be have a better one, but I see a lot of. I don't see a lot of 6.5s at -110. I might see 1 or 2, but I see a lot of them up to anywhere from 112, 115. And the reason that I say that is usually when you start seeing a certain number start getting juiced up off those -110s, it's going to turn usually. I just don't understand how you're catching 6 points with Iowa. I mean, I'm sorry.
Circa has it at 7.
Yeah. So
Circa and Pinnacle have both moved this to 7.
Yeah, so I will be betting Iowa. I'm going to let this number rise. I don't understand this number. UCLA looks absolutely terrible right now, and I understand that you can make a case that they've been playing really good teams and whatnot, but they don't really look good. It's different. If you. They're getting beat 66-58, 94-75, 79-61, 75-68. I mean, they're losing by 7 points to Rutgers, and not to mention the fact that and Mick Cronin talked about this in his press conference the other day. Look at the travel that they had to do. I mean, they had to go on the road to Oregon, and they had to go on the road to Arizona. They had a home game against Prairie View. They go play a neutral court game against North Carolina in New York City. Then they go and they play a semi-home game against, and that's so New York City, cross the country to Gonzaga to play a home game. Then they got to fly out to Nebraska, then to Michigan, then they home to play Michigan, then across the country again to play Maryland, and they play Rutgers, and now they're flying back across the country at home to play an Iowa team that's already been on the West Coast. They just lost to USC. They lost to USC by 80 to 89 points, but they scored 89 points, and they were in that game pretty much the whole way until the end. I just don't understand how Iowa's getting 6.5 points. UCLA looks absolutely terrible. And even if UCLA plays fantastic, the Iowa offense is playing really, really good right now. Like I just said, they almost scored 90 points on the road last night or the other night against a USC defense that's playing way, way better than the UCLA defense is playing right now. So I will be on Iowa. The number continues to go up. Iowa is one of the best shooting teams in the country, 6th in 3-point percentage, 9th in 2-point percentage. Both teams are terrible at free throws, so that doesn't really matter. The one thing that UCLA loves to do is turn teams over. Guess what? Iowa top 10 in the country and not turning the ball over on offense. Again, this number makes no sense to me. I make this game Iowa -2. UCLA is fucking dead in the water. I'm telling you guys, this team is terrible. I will be placing money on Iowa money line as well.
Wags is on Iowa money line plus 239. He wrote in.
Smart man. And this might be the one game that we get with a UCLA with another crazy number, and then the books will adjust. But again, they've played a good schedule, but I feel like this is a terrible spot. I mean, the amount of miles that this team has had to log over the last month is just absolutely insane. Multiple cross-country trips. It's just absolutely crazy. Being at home is nice, but maybe the Wisconsin game is a little bit better of a shot for them, but against Iowa, I don't really like that at all.
All right. Seems like everyone's taking Iowa there.
I would assume they're a public. I think probably will be a public dog.
Boise State, New Mexico. You picked this game?
No.
Do you want me to skip it?
No, we can talk about it. It's a really good game.
All right.
Especially for the Mountain West Conference. I mean, you have Utah State up there as far at 16-2, but they just took a loss to UNLV last night. Shout out Running Rebs. But New Mexico and Boise State right there at 2-3. So it's a pretty big game. I definitely lean Boise State. For me, and I said this going into the San Jose State game, I just feel like New Mexico is kind of playing with a little bit of fool's gold right now. You look at their especially laying points here. So keep in mind, so their last few games they played, going back to the start of the year, right? They played Fresno State, who's absolutely terrible. They won that game they won that game. They scored 103 points, but they gave up 89 points to Fresno State. I can't stress how bad Fresno State is. And then they come home to play in the Pit, which is one of a really hard place to play. I will give them that. Their home court advantage is a true home court advantage in the Pit. But they come home and they play Nevada. They win by a lucky tip in overtime. Then they go play Wyoming. They have a really, really shitty first half, and then they have a really, really big second half, and they win against Wyoming. They come home against San Diego State, and they kind of just can't miss in that game. San Diego State just looks like a shell of themselves, and they win that game kind of going away. And then they go on the road and play a San Jose State team that's kind of feisty, and they lose that game outright. And now they have to come home and play a Boise State team that matches up really, really well with them. And I think that what's going to bother New Mexico is that Boise State's going to be able to slow this game down, and Boise State's one of the teams that can do this. They're tested. They play one of the tougher schedules in the country as well. So it's one of those things where New Mexico's played a good schedule as well. I don't want to make it sound like they played a terrible schedule, but Boise State, these teams know each other, and Boise State knows how to slow these teams down. I think that I think that Leon Rice is a much, much better coach than Mr. Patino, and they're going to know how to slow this game down. And honestly, New Mexico's defense has been very, very good. But the thing is that I think that the Boise State defense has been just as good. The only thing that Boise State hasn't really done is force turnovers, but they're one of the best teams in not fouling in the country. They don't send teams to the free throw line at all. Not to mention the fact that with this game, I think being close, 3.5 spread tells us that. Boise State playing at one of the slowest paces in the country tells us that. And Boise State, a much, much better free throw shooting team, a top 25 free throw shooting team. New Mexico 303 in free throw shooting. So if this game was even if New Mexico's up 5 or 6 late and this happens to be a free throw battle, we have a really, really good shot here. So I'll be on Boise State, probably going to sprinkle the money line as well. Like I said, I'm not really a fan of how New Mexico is played, and I have a hard time believing that Boise State's not ready to go in this one. There's been some bad blood in this rivalry in the past. I don't know if it was last year. I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. There were some issues in the tunnel with these two teams. I think you're going to get a really, really good effort out of Boise State. I think they win this basketball game.
Boise State plus 3.5, one more game. You can't even get the ball in bounds. Jesus Christ.
Is it tied or something?
No, it's a 1-point game because Jalen Green hit a fucking 3. Why would you even give him that look? VCU St. Joe's, and then we're done.
VCU St. Joe's. I'm on St. Joe's here, for sure. Couple things for St. Joe's. Well, actually, it's really simple. For me, I think St. Joe's matches up really well for them. But for VCU, if you can contain that Joe Basmal kid, you can pretty much contain VCU. And the way that Xavier Brown kid, or Xavier, I don't know how you say his first name, but that Brown kid from St. Joe's, the way that he stepped up, especially after missing a couple games, scoring 20 points against Loyola Chicago, scored 17 against Duquesne, only 11 against St. Louis, but that was only a second game back. So he's really starting to play lights out. I don't know about the Eric Reynolds kid. I mean, he's been kind of hit or miss, but at the same time, I feel like St. Joe's can really, really match up well with this VCU team. St. Joe's defensively is just as good as VCU, and I think that VCU's offense is a little bit overrated here. The only thing that worries me is like the rebounding, but St. Joe's is one of those teams that's really scrappy. Look, VCU is one of these teams that looks really good as far as their win-loss record. But again, I just talked about how I don't think that New Mexico is that really good of a team. They lost to New Mexico by 7. That game was on the road. They lost by 2 to St. Bonaventure. None of those really look bad, but everything else that they play as far as their wins are like against really bad teams. Like even their last win against St. Louis, who's like a somewhat decent basketball team. Like St. Louis has had their problems. There's no question about that. And I guess, and they were in St. Louis was in a really bad spot at finally playing on the road after winning a whole bunch of home games. So I just feel like there's a lot of things that you can pick apart on VCU that really not to like. And you have St. Joe's that's finally playing somewhat decent basketball. They did lose to that same St. Louis team, but at home, I just think they're much, much better. The only time that they've had issues at home is against teams like Charleston and whatnot. And that was like a month ago. They've been playing a much, much better brand of basketball as St. Joe's has. So I'm on St. Joe's here. It's significantly, oh yeah, of course, significantly a better free throw shooting team as well. VCU bottom third as far as free throw shooting and 3-point percentage. St. Joe's one of the best free throw shooting teams in the country and top 80, I think, in 3-point percentage as well. So as long as they're not ice cold tomorrow night, I think that St. Joe's wins this basketball game.
Wags is on St. Joe's money line plus 112. He likes.
Hell yeah.
I'm down to bet this one with you guys. What's the score of Oregon State?
Hold on, I'll tell you in a second. Mine's delayed. Hold on.
Plus
Zags
two.
are up by 5.
Zags are up 5?
Yeah.
Dude. How much time left in that?
16 minutes.
Hang on, Beavers.
We're playing the game. We're playing the game that we want to play. Just keep
What's
this
that?
game.
A losing game?
Slow this game down. Don't let Gonzaga get in a rhythm. Now we just made a free throw. Now they're only up by 4. Just stay in the game. Gonzaga hasn't been able to close games all year. Like, we should be all right.
Hold on. Did they just foul? Did they just foul?
No one knows.
1 second left. The Kings are shooting 2 free throws. If they make both of them, I cover. I'm not going to. No way.
You win. You had 4.5. They won by 5.
Am I behind the broadcast?
Yeah, you're behind. You won. You won 132-127.
Why? How am I so far behind?
I don't know.
That's 3-0. 3-0 tonight.
That's final on my
Oregon
screen.
State plus 9.5 would give me the 4-0 sweep. And I just bet St. Joe's plus 2. So I'm with you guys.
I'm glad to see Wags is on that St. Joe's.
Friend of the family was the coach of St. Joe's for years. Phil Martelli.
Are you lying? Are you know Phil Martelli?
Yeah.
Damn. Touche, sir. Legend. He's an absolute legend.
My parents know him a lot better than
I get it.
do.
I'm just saying, like, that's cool. I thought you were joking for a second.
Phil Martelli's sister, who actually passed away a few years ago, Phil Martelli's sister is like, her and her husband are good friends of my parents. So it's more his sister.
No, I get it. Yeah. That's still cool, though. That guy's
he's
legend.
like a legend, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Especially over there, I'm sure. I mean, I know him because I'm a college basketball psycho, but yeah, he's one of the best coaches of all time.
He did I did the video editing for this charity event that he ran. It was a 3-point shootout. It was pretty cool, and he like hosted it and promoted it. Like, it was all complete nonprofit. He's a good guy. So anyway, Rod posted a couple in here. Rod likes VCU. Bet on VCU versus bad pressure defensive teams, forcing 12 or less turnovers per game. After 15 games into the season, VCU's record since 2023, 20-3 against the spread. Also, bet VCU versus good defensive teams that allow 42% or less field goal percentage, 17-3 against the spread since 2023. So Rod seems to like VCU. Rod also likes UCLA. So Rod's against you.
Put the belt up with UCLA, Rod.
So we got Kings, just one bet left to complete the sweep. All right, I got to get this NBA video out. So I got to roll because I got at least another hour of work to do before I could go to sleep. So everyone, thanks for watching. Tomorrow, 4 p.m. We're doing college basketball first, though, because Toast has to. What are you doing? Disney on Ice or some shit?
Yeah, Disney on Ice. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I got tickets.
No, Toast has to coach hockey. But yeah, so see you tomorrow 4 p.m. I have an NBA video coming where I go through all of them. There's 9 games, but I'm going to need some time on that. So